Hello Glamour Ghouls, and welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Midge Munster, and on this channel we do all things campy, kooky, glamorous, and spooky. Well, welcome back everyone to our annual disaster marathon. We have a lot of new folks around here since the last time we did this, so in case you're not familiar, for the last 3 years I have made my own birthday cake as a little tradition here on the channel. It all started with folks asking me to do some baking projects, and what you need to know about me before you watch this video is I am not a baker. I can make a cookie, I can make a loaf, but I do not know my way around a cake or cake decorating devices. We've made some valiant attempts over the last 3 years, but as you all know, this year is my 30th birthday, and for that reason I wanted to go bigger and better than ever. In the past, what we've done is picked a cake from Pinterest or Instagram and tried to replicate it, much like the show Nailed It. But I came up with the idea for this year's cake the day after we filmed last year's cake, and I don't have a reference photo for it. For the first time, we have nothing to compare it to, which could either be great for me or a complete disaster. But either way, what it is for sure going to be is fun. Another part of these videos is I always coordinate my outfit to the cake, so you might have noticed some Beetlejuice themes going on here today, and that is because we are making a Beetlejuice cake. The other interesting element here is I have purchased a silicone 30 mold, and we are going to try to make a number-shaped cake. And for the first time on this channel, I am going to be making my cake from scratch. No box mix, no pre-done frosting. I have found a recipe and we are going to make a cake. So buckle up, grab a snack, grab a drink, get cozy, and enjoy this year's Disaster Recipe Theater 3000. So we're first going to start out by making the cake batter, and while I do that, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what we're going to try to achieve with the decoration of this cake. So first of all, this is a chocolate cake made with dark cocoa and a little bit of coffee. And it's got a chocolate cream cheese buttercream frosting, which sounds awesome to me. I will share the recipe in the description box, but this is from the Stay at Home Chef is the name of their blog. The proportions of this, these ingredients seem pretty, quite a bit. So I'm hoping that just one portion of this recipe will fill. Those are kind of large cake pans, but I think we're gonna be okay. So the plan for the cake decor, as I mentioned, it's gonna be Beetlejuice themed. I have obviously never worked with these number-shaped molds before, so that will be exciting. I'm hoping it will, give us a leg up in the fact that if it comes out of the mold well, the cake will already look cool just by the fact that it's shaped differently. Though I guess if it doesn't come out well, it'll be shaped really differently. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this to my stand mixer bowl because this is a lot of dry ingredients. There we go, much better. So my hope, and the reason I wanted to use the number mold, let's make sure 1 tablespoon baking soda, okay, is that I wanted to try to make a sandworm cake. So our goal today is for the 3 to be purple with green slime dripping, and then the 0 to be a sandworm kind of wrapped up on itself, biting its own tail. Now, I hear many of you at home saying, Midge, that's incredibly ambitious. To which I say, that's what your 30s are about, baby. Being ambitious, trying new things. So we're gonna try it and see what happens. I have some different colors of fondant. I have molding chocolate, which I have never used before, so that will certainly be an exciting adventure. That's what we're gonna try to make the sandworm's head out of. I've got some edible paint. Overall, we're just gonna get crazy and see what comes to pass. So I've got all my dry ingredients mixed up here, and now we need to put it on the stand mixer and add in our wet ingredients. So I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so this batter is all mixed up and it is looking delicious, y'all. Like, look at this consistency. Dark, chocolatey deliciousness. I have made a hopefully educated guess and assumed that these cakes need to be placed on a pan since it's a silicone mold to give them some structure. And I have greased every corner and crevice so that hopefully our cakes do not get stuck in the mold. So I'm just gonna start doing the thing. I always hesitate for a minute when I'm like, so far so good. In my head, I'm like, don't say it out loud, Midge. Don't jinx it. This is kind of satisfying though, right? It's like a satisfying pour. Oh my gosh, y'all. Box mix could never. That is good. Definitely going to be the best tasting cake we have made so far. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure the numbers are like sitting well so that the numbers bake, you know, solidly in a way that looks how we want them to look. I think we're in good shape. So I'm gonna put these in the oven for 30 minutes. Ha 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 ha. Get it? 30 minutes? 1 minute for every year I've been alive. Now, while those bake, I think what I want to try to do is work on the sandworm head and try to learn how to use this molding chocolate, because I think that's probably going to take the most time and be the biggest learning curve for me here. So let's pull that out and start taking a look at how we're gonna make this happen. I just want you all to know that as I am ever the professional at baking, I have now acquired a silicone mat for working with fondant and chocolate. So I've never worked with this before, but it just said to knead it until it's working consistency, which honestly, it basically feels like clay. So I'm just gonna knead it, get it a little bit softer here, and then we're gonna try to sculpt a sandworm. I had somebody comment on one of my old cake videos the other day and ask basically why I make my own birthday cake. And specifically they said, don't you have anybody who can make you a cake? And I said, of course I do. I have lovely friends and family who always get me a cake or make me a cake. But that's not what this is about. This is about the fact that I want to make this cake. And it's so fun to look back at these videos. I rewatched all of them this morning, actually, and just see like where I was at that point in my life going into those years of my life. It was actually really crazy. I watched, the first time we did this was in 2020, and Richie was here staying with me after he had gotten home off the cruise ship, which if you haven't ever seen one of my cake videos, or if there's any of them that you've missed, they're all in a playlist on my channel. You can go back and check those out. But in that first video, which again was just 3 years ago, at the beginning I said something about thank you for 1,000 subscribers. And that's just really, really great to have that perspective every year and kind of see where I'm at. This year was my goal to hit 45K before my birthday, and we did that. And it's just, you know, it's crazy how far we've come. I also think this is a fun tradition just in the way of, I started with something I had no skill set in, and now I get to do it once a year before my birthday and see how I've grown and changed, not only as a person, but at this craft each year, and what I've learned and what I still have to learn. It's just really cool, and I love doing it. So if you're wondering why, that's why. Okay, so this is very workable now. Like I said, it really is the consistency of clay. Let's see, I need a reference image. So I'm gonna use this one. The interesting thing is gonna be that my O is very, you know, big, it's very wide. So the head's gonna have to kind of match the width of the 0. So what I think I'm gonna do though is make it kind of flat. I am also not a sculptor, but I can usually pretty decently replicate things. So we've got kind of the outer shell of the worm and then the inner shell of the worm. So we're gonna start building up the outer. You know, I know a lot of people have really complicated emotions about their 30th birthday. A lot of the time it's a challenging number for people because you're leaving your 20s and you're kind of starting to reckon with the fact that you're, you know, never gonna be like a youth again. But I'll tell you what, I've always felt like an old soul and I've always wanted to be 30. I don't know if it was the heavy presence of the movie 13 going on 30 in the early 2000s that had such a large effect on my life, or if it's just that I like feel like I'm finally aging into my personality. But I'm not feeling some kind of way about it. Like, I'm really excited. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really, really good. And I also think it's just, you know, it's such a gift to be able to age and to be able to grow and change as a person and go into each new year with what you've learned, much like I was talking about with this cake. So yeah, I'm really in a really good place with it. Okay, y'all, don't want to get crazy. Again, I don't ever want to count my chickens before they hatch, but this is looking pretty cool. I think I'm gonna move you over here so you can see what I'm doing and just put you into a little bit of a time lapse and watch me play with this and sculpt, and then we'll see where we end up here in a couple of minutes. As I mentioned, I have never worked with modeling chocolate before, but once I got used to just the texture of it, I found it to be a really forgiving medium. With a little bit of water and some elbow grease, I was able to blend all these pieces together, and I think this ended up turning out really, really nicely. Once I had all of the shapes I wanted, I mixed up a color with some edible paint to match the color of the sandworm's lips and just laid this on with a paintbrush. Both the sculpting and the painting of this sandworm were, to me, the most fun parts of this project. Once I got into the zone, I just kind of zenned out and was listening to a podcast, and I didn't even realize how many hours had gone by. I was just enjoying the process. I had tried these edible food coloring markers. These were great for mapping out details and for small detail work like these stripes on the tongue, but for large coverage areas they were not good. And unfortunately, the package of food paint I got did not come with the black that was supposed to be in it, so I ended up just taking black food coloring and a paintbrush and going over these larger areas, and I think it worked out fine. So it's been several hours. That head took me a lot longer than I would have ever expected, but once I started getting into it, I was enjoying taking my time with it so much that I didn't care. I just started sculpting, as you saw, and here it is, all finished. I am honestly thrilled and shocked at the way this came out. I think it is so, so nice. I just seriously never anticipated it turning out that well, so I am absolutely thrilled with how that all came together. In the meantime, we also have both of the cakes out of the molds. They came out clean and in the shape that they're meant to be, so I'm very excited about that. And I made my frosting, which is positively delectable. It's so good. I will tell y'all, if you use the recipe that I link in the description, this called for 7 cups of powdered sugar. I tested it after 5 and was really happy with the flavor. I don't like really, really sweet icing. I like a little cocoa bitterness. So I decided to cut it at 5 just to keep that dark chocolate, rich, slightly bitter taste. So if you like your sweets a little on the less sweet side, cut that down to 5, and I think it's really perfect. So now it is time to start putting all of these elements together, which is always the scariest part for me. But I think we've set ourselves up for a pretty good shot at this. On the plus side, the head taking so long means the cakes have been cooling for a long time. So they are very cool. And as you can see, like I said, came out in a really nice shape. The cake tastes delicious. I really want to flip these over, but I'm so scared of accidentally breaking the shapes or something. Let's see. That's the 3 I'm most worried about. It seems to be the least stable. Okay, here we go. Now we should be able to just turn this over. There we go, beautiful. Trying to make sure we have plenty of room to lay the fondant over each of these individually, since they have different colors of fondant. Okay, team. Nothing to lose, I guess. Let's start icing these. Per usual, I'm gonna say, I hate to speak too soon, but I feel like this is going pretty well. I don't know why I feel like this, but I do kind of feel like the cake being not round kind of takes some of the pressure off me for some reason. I feel like, I don't know what that is. My brain is like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to be like symmetrical or, you know, look a certain way because it's a number. I'm gonna finish icing these and then we will move on to fondant. So I've got those all iced. They look really good. And now we're gonna move on to coating them with fondant. I did go ahead and get pre-colored fondant just to save us a little bit of time since I made everything else. So I've got purple and white for the 3 and the 0. And then we do have some black to work with on the 0 as well. So I'm just gonna get this at a working consistency. And it seems like every year my biggest issue, I guess, with fondant is that I don't get it rolled out quite thin enough. It's always kind of thick. So I'm gonna try really hard to get this to a nice thin consistency. I think that's pretty good. Let's see, are we close to the size we need for the 3? Honestly, I think, hear me out. I'm gonna cut off part of that and then try to get it even thinner. I think that is pretty good. So let's try and drape it over our 3 here. Oops. Okay. I think that's the most successful that has ever been. Okay, so I'm gonna smooth, take my little cutter here, cut off this excess. Oops. I'm such a good YouTuber. Y'all can't even see what I'm doing. This is such an interesting, this is like, for lack of a better word, grimace purple, like from McDonald's. You know what I'm talking about? I would definitely not call this like Beetlejuice purple, but that's okay. I think all the other elements we're adding are gonna get us where we're going. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these relief cuts here. Start forming the fondant like into shape. Listen, y'all, I don't know about y'all who are like aficionados who really know your way around baking and fondant, but for those of you who know me and my history with this is freaking impressive. I mean, like, am I a professional? No, I'm not, but we're doing a really good job. Okay, so I saw a woman online do this where she took, after she, you know, did that, then she took a cookie cutter like this and just cut a bunch of little shapes to stick them inside and cover the inside of the cake. And I thought that was really smart because, like, at the angle that most of those like number interiors are at, you can't see them really anyway. So, you know, it's enough to just finish off some of those edges so that the color is at least there. If you're like me and you're baking for yourself and nobody's paying for your cake, this is a perfect way to cheat your fondant application a little bit. And with that, our 3 is done and looking mighty good, if I do say so myself. So now we need to cover this 0 in white. So let me roll that out. Listen, y'all, no one can tell me shit right now. Like, one of you could come in my comments and be like, you're the worst person alive and everyone hates you. And I'd be like, look at the material. That can't be true. Look at my fondant. I seriously cannot believe that that went so well. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to use the black fondant to do stripes on this cake. But before we do that, we need to take our little gentleman out of the freezer and place him so that we know where the stripes go. So here's our little bub. And I'm gonna pick him up. And I think I'm gonna put him right here. And then we're gonna roll out, honestly, I don't need this whole thing. Oh no, huh. Just twist off like half of it. And we're gonna roll this out really thin to make our stripes. Cut this into a square-ish shape. I'm sure it's not going to be perfect by any means, but it's kind of the beauty of doing Tim Burton stuff, is that his lines and his aesthetic is imperfect. Okay, let's move this here, make sure I'm in frame. So yeah, I think if we just do, I think that's too wide. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, I think that's good. So this first one, I'm actually gonna put kind of under him so that it's kind of the other, so it's completing that neckline. I can't believe this is working out. This is wild. Y'all, I know I keep saying it, but I just cannot, I cannot believe that this is actually turning out the way it was in my head. The only last thing I had kind of on the idea board, as I mentioned at the beginning, was to do like a green Beetlejuice slime on this purple 3. And I found this, we'll see if it works, Satin Ice Drip Drizzle Glitter Glaze in this slime green, and it's supposed to be shimmery, which could be fun. Ooh, it's a cool color and it's pretty. We'll see if it shows up well on this purple. Maybe I'm gonna test it on another piece of purple. Good thinking. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what I was thinking is, I don't want to cover the whole 3 up, but I think maybe if we do some slime drip all across the top and then maybe coming down from the like base there, I think is maybe the way to go. So Oh my goodness, fun. I don't know if this looks more Beetlejuice or more Goosebumps, but either way, I'm in. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. The green really like solidifies that this is like a Beetlejuice cake. Okay, I think that is perfect. I don't want to get like overzealous with it and ruin a good thing. But y'all, I think this is pretty freaking stellar. Well, there it is, my 30th birthday cake. I cannot believe that I am 30 years old today. It is so exciting. Thank you all so much for always indulging this little tradition of mine. I always have so much fun getting to be creative in this way, and it's just so fun to get to share the start of each chapter with all of you. So thank you for being here. As always, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel before you leave today. We have all kinds of exciting Halloween content just on the horizon, and you are not going to want to miss a single video. So hit that button to join our Glamour Goal gang. And if you'd like to support this channel and get additional content from me, you can check out my Patreon in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for another wonderful year. And until next time, keep it campy, kooky, glamorous, and spooky. Bye!